Hello everyone and welcome to Torah with your host Rabbi Anibal. Welcome to Brendan David Grossman. Welcome to the class. Welcome Jerome. Great to have you here. How are the fries?
Good.
Jerome says the fries are good and I believe him. Fries are good. I mean, they taste good. I don't know if they are good. They taste good.
A bunch of starch. What the hell?
Starch with oil, or oil with starch sometimes. Who knows? Who knows? So we are about to start with the class in a few minutes. Just give it a couple of minutes for more people to join. People like Amparo Goldman, that's just joined. Welcome, Amparo. Welcome to the class. We see more people come in person as well. This is the summer. I know. Beautiful day today in Winnipeg, so some people may have decided to go outside, right? I surely did. I was riding my scooter today to come to work. That's a good thing. Josué Rivera, welcome to the class. Welcome. So, what are we going to study today? Well, I still want to start with at least one verse from the previous week because we didn't have time to talk about it, and I want to do it. You will see it. You will see it in a minute. I want to start with that verse because the Torah, I believe, is teaching us a sad reality. You will see on how to be more effective communicating something. Okay, if you want people to pay attention and to follow instructions. So you'll see what I'm saying this. So you have to be a little patient. You can also see here above me all the Israeli flags and things. The Asper campus here in Winnipeg is getting ready for Yom HaAtzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. It's going to be, God willing, on Tuesday. It's a big party planned for the city of Winnipeg here at the Asper campus. And I hope we have. Are we having fireworks on Tuesday, Gary?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, no, okay.
Usually on the field.
Yeah.
For the Yom HaTorah.
They have it,
Usually
you know?
on the field.
Okay.
All I ask is that they need to do a better, whoever does the fireworks needs to do a better job of picking up the dead fireworks.
Oh, okay. But
they leave, they've left over the years that they used to leave
Aye.
a fair amount of, I mean, they're spent cartridges, but still.
Yeah, I've seen it. Okay, thank you. Well, guys, you heard it. We may have fireworks this year as well. And it's a great thing. They have a DJ outside and people dancing. And if the weather is nice, you could stay at really, really late. But I think it's a good thing to celebrate Israel that beautiful way. So the parsha for this week is Kedoshim. Usually gets read together with Parshat Acharayimot. Okay? You will see most of the year it is Acharayimot Kedoshim combined. Why do we read it in two separate weeks? Because this is a leap year. We have more Shabbatot.
Yeah.
So we need to split these double parshas to fill up the calendar. So that's the thing. And sometimes it also affects when a holiday falls on Shabbat or not, and stuff like that. Okay, so yeah. So this week is Kedoshim, which means holy. So the question is, even before we start with the material, I want to hear it. And you guys at home, if you have access to the chat, I want you to let me know. What is holy? What does it mean? Think for a minute, because it's something that sometimes we never stop to think what it is. We think we know,
Yeah.
but it's difficult for people to describe what it means to be holy. Okay? Welcome, Priscilla. Welcome to the class. So what is it?
Something that evokes a spiritual connection with the person.
Spiritual connection. Very good, Jerome, but wrong.
Okay. Not my first time.
Priscilla, I ask the meaning of the word holy, or in Hebrew is kadosh. Okay? No takers other than Jerome here? I'm going to tell you my answer in a minute. So, if you want to try, use a chat. Want to know?
Something we revere. Something we revere.
Revere? No. Okay. Priscilla got it right. It said holy means set apart. Okay? Set apart and elevated out of this dimension. The elevated thing is more of interpretation, but yeah. Kadosh, basically the meaning of the word, the meaning of holy is set apart, special. Okay? Let's take an example. Shabbat, we say Shabbat Kodesh, right? The Sabbath. Why? Because it's a different day. You have 6 days that they are the same, and the seventh is separate, right? How do you call a Jewish wedding? Kedoshim. Kedoshim, why? Because the couple now is set apart. So that is the thing. And then you will see that there are even some words that they are kind of weird. There is the word Kadesha in Hebrew. Kadesha. Kadesha was the male prostitute in the temple in pagan rituals. Okay, well, because it was separated for a specific thing. It was what we call Kadesha. Okay, so it's interesting, and I believe that the concept of Kedusha, the concept of Kodesh, but that related to God, is a consequence of using that word for religious things. Okay, but it's like the word let's say that you have the word in English special, right? Special is special, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't really mean that it's good.
Right.
You can come to a restaurant and have the special of the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's terrible, but a special is separated, is something unique, right? So, as far as I know, the translation of the word Kodesh or Kadosh could be special. So, the parsha is called Kedoshim, okay? And it starts by saying that we are Kedoshim, we are holy, because God is holy. Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani. You are holy because I'm holy, says God. Or you are kadosh because I'm kadosh, says God. What does it mean?
Well, we're also set apart because we're supposed to be compared to the world.
Okay, so but in other words, I said, you are special because I'm special, says God.
Yeah.
Or you are, because that's the thing. And I think this is a message that we all have to hear, the fact that we are all special, okay? We are all special and unique. It's the same way that God is unique. Now, the other thing is also this concept of Kedusha. Some rabbis believe that it's not so simple. It means that we have the potential to become special,
Right.
right?
You have to
So
develop it.
basically what God is saying is you have the potential to become special because you have my DNA. Kedoshim, you could become, you have the potential to become Kadosh,
Right.
right? Because say God, I'm Kadosh. And your soul came from me. So you have the divine DNA inside yourself.
Right.
But what we don't understand sometimes is, again, it's not an automatic thing. We have to work for it. And it's like okay, by the way, give me a second. Welcome Randy, Rocky, and Eric. Welcome to the class. Listen to this. I realize the word potential sometimes is overrated. When we say about somebody, yeah, has so much potential, I will say, show me the money.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think, potentially may never happen.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what you do,
Yeah.
not the potential. What do you do now?
Right. What have you accomplished?
What have you accomplished so far? Because potential, you know how many people are there with potential that never go anywhere? They have the potential, but they never develop it. So the thing that is interesting is that if you go to the Parsha, and basically, after God says that you could be Kadosh because I'm Kadosh, there is a list of things that we have to do in order to accomplish that. And what is going to be shocking is that 90% of that list has nothing to do with religious thing. And I would say the only one that is a religious thing is the observance of Shabbat. But all the others are about doing good things in society. And then if you do all that, you become holy. It's not about what you do. It's not about, to become holy, it's not about how much you pray.
Right.
It's not about, how many times you go to synagogue. It's not about putting on tefillin every day. It's about what you do.
Yeah. Like they say, just because I stand in the garage, it doesn't make me a car.
Just because you stand in the garage, it does not make your car. No,
Or a mechanic.
but it makes you a car owner.
Not necessarily. I'm just standing in the garage.
Yeah, well, means you have a garage. So that's what I always look at it in Parshat Kedoshim, how amazing it is that God is reminding us, right? Hey, you have divine potential on you, but it's just potential. You have to develop it.
Right.
And then if you learn that lesson, that applies to everything in life. You have any talents? You know that talent can take you that far, right?
Yeah. But you have to use the talent. You have to develop the talent even more. You can be born with natural agility. It won't make you an athlete. Unless
No,
you train.
correct. You have to develop it.
Yeah.
But first you have to recognize it, right?
Yeah.
That's why I think the Parsha is so specific about what is coming from God, right? So you can see it,
Yeah.
and then you have to develop it. And the Torah in this case comes with a list of things to do to develop our divine potential. So that's the thing. And I can tell you here exactly, hold on. I have a little list because I worked this with a bar mitzvah the other day, and he was talking about that. They were saying, he's talking about charity, equality before the law, Shabbat, just religious, honesty in business, honor and awe of one's parents, and sacredness of life. very little to do with what people would consider religious, right? So what does it mean? And I think the Torah is telling you that you cannot be holy if you don't give tzedakah,
You're not a good person.
if you're racist, if you're immoral, right? If you're dishonest, if you disrespect your parents, or you don't care about human life. Then in that case, you can never be holy. You are wasting your potential. That's the thing. Okay, so let's go to, remember I told you I wanted to bring a little bit of last week Parsha to begin with. And this is all about, I think it's a little bit of advice when we want to be effective communicators. Okay? Because remember what happened with Aaron's sons, that they died? What happened with them?
They made an offering that was not proper, and they died.
Yeah, they made an offer that the Torah described that it was not proper. They broke protocol. They have very specific instructions of what to do, okay? And things that we don't even know why. There's so much mystery about the temple. And you will see that this concept was exaggerated a little bit in the movie Indiana Jones, the first one, when they opened the Ark of the Covenant, and they all died, right?
Yeah.
Because there was this thing that if you touch the Ark, and if you weren't a Kohen, you will drop dead, right? And if you approach the altar and you didn't know what to do, there was a fire coming from there. It's very weird, all that. But there was a protocol to avoid all that.
Yeah.
Even if we don't understand it, it exists, okay? So last week's Parsha will said, well, so the two sons of Aaron died because they broke protocol. Some people think that they were actually drunk.
Yeah, I heard that.
They were drunk. So basically said, don't drink and drive, right?
Yeah.
Oh, don't. But sometimes it says, if you read the label, it said don't operate machinery,
Yes.
right? Because it's
Under the influence.
so. This is pretty much the same thing. Don't drink and go close to the fire of the altar, because there are so many things, incense and oils and.
It's also disrespectful to be drunk.
Yeah, but I think here they are trying to be very down to earth. That it was like a physical danger if they didn't pay attention to all the details of what they're supposed to do. So now they died. Okay? Now Moses wanted to prevent things like that to happen. So last week's Parsha starts. God spoke to Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron who died when they drew too close to the presence of God. So in other words, now that all the laws of all the protocols are going to be repeated,
Right.
they are giving a specific example. And you will see that that's the way sometimes advertisements of when they are trying to advertise don't drink and drive and things,
Yeah, they show.
it's very graphic,
Yeah.
right? This is pretty much the same. This is as graphic as this could be. It's not God or Moses then telling the people of Israel, please follow protocols. Now is, please follow protocols or this is what happened, right?
Yes.
So then you can relate to that. You connect to the thing differently. So I think it's an interesting way that the Torah brings it back in this parsha, because the death of the sons of Aaron happened before. So it brings it back before the new sets of law for the protocol for the priests. So they will have a specific example of what could happen if they don't do the right thing. Okay? So that's what I wanted to mention before we go into this week's parsha. Okay? Well, we already talked a little bit about this week's parsha because, yeah. So, let's go to this week's parsha because it has one of the most famous verses in the entire Torah. What is the most famous verse in the Torah? Nope. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Ah, okay.
Right? It's in this week's.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in this week's parsha.
okay.
And again, the parsha is called Kedoshim,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And what are you supposed to do?
Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor. How do you connect that with being holy when most people get the impression that being holy means being religious? And then you realize it has nothing to do, right?
Yeah.
It's all our obligation with other people that have the potential to help us become holy. Just saying. Priscilla said, sorry, my patient is here. So he's not so patient if he cannot wait. Okay, Priscilla, go. See ya. Have a good day. Okay, so let's go to the verse of love your neighbor, okay? Because it's not just love your neighbor. Sometimes people forget to read the whole verse. It goes like this. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the sons of your people. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? I am God. That's the whole verse. That's the whole verse. So always remember, Leviticus 19:18. Okay? 19:18. Very useful. Very useful to remember this verse. Leviticus 19:18. So the first thing you will have to understand from this verse, right, is what it means to take vengeance versus what is to bear a grudge. What's the difference?
Well, bear a grudge is merely to hold a bad opinion of a person for a long period of time, where taking vengeance is actually committing an act.
Oh, they are both acts. Because in Judaism, you cannot be punished for a feeling. Okay? We are talking about two specific actions here. That is a very important concept, right?
Yeah, but
You should never feel bad. You know, when like feelings like fear, you know, when you're afraid of something, or feelings that you feel for somebody else, right? You have to understand that as feelings, that comes and go. So you should never feel bad for having it. You should feel bad if you acted on it.
well, vengeance is something that happens and is done, where a grudge can be kept forever.
Well, and then again, it says, don't take a vengeance, don't bear a grudge, but love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's try to understand the three things. So, listen to this. The Talmud says, what constitutes taking vengeance? So Rashi explains. For example, he said to him, lend me your sickle. He said to him, lend me your sickle, and the latter replies, no. You go to your neighbor, right? Can I use your lawnmower? And the guy said, nope. Then you go back home, right? The next day, the neighbor comes to you, right? Say, can I have your ladder? And what do you say?
Say no.
And then he said, and if you said, I won't give you the ladder, right? Because you didn't give me your lawnmower, right? That is revenge.
Right. Reciprocal.
But listen to this. So what is the difference with bearing a grudge? Explains Rashi. For example, your neighbors come to you and said, right, can I use your ladder? Right? And you said to him, nope. And the next day you go to say, can I use your lawnmower? Right? And the other guy said, yeah, You can, because I'm not like you.
Okay.
That is considered bearing a grudge.
Right. That goes on. That can go on forever.
But you see, but it's interesting because technically I give it to you,
Yeah.
but it's the way
The way you give to it.
I give it to you, because I said yes, because I'm not a jerk like you.
Yeah.
So according to the Torah, they're both wrong. To say no
Yeah.
or to say yes, but you're a jerk. So what is the difference? So the next part of the verse is love your neighbor as yourself. Let it go, you say yes. Because you will like your neighbor to do that the same to you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way. Randy, you said some of your people only Jewish. Yeah, there is this debate about the. I'm going to go back here because there are two ways. You see, within the same verse, the subject is referred to in two different ways. The first part said, "Lo tikon velo titor et bnei yamecha." Okay, but then the second part was said, "But love your neighbor as yourself." Ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha. He uses a different word, so it means that
The neighbor
perhaps
might be a different country.
perhaps to a non-Jew, you could take vengeance and bear a grudge, right? But you still have to love. I don't understand. It's not clear. So, but eventually, yes, some people seems to be to read here that it's talking just about regular life between Jews. Just because you have to understand that there was no chance for Jewish people sometimes to have good relationship with no Jewish neighbors. It was just not possible. Not because they didn't want, but the other people didn't want. But in this day and age, we understand that in the wider sense, that it applies to everybody. Yeah. So let's continue here. So what I wanted to say is this verse, you see, and you shall love your friend as you love yourself. Rabbi Akiva said, this is a fundamental principle in the Torah. Ze klal gadol b'Torah. There is a song, Amar Rabbi Akiva. Never heard it? Amar Rabbi Akiva, ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha, ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha. Ze klal gadol b'Torah, ze klal gadol b'Torah. No? Doesn't ring a bell?
No.
Okay. But there is a song about it. And it's based on the Midrash. This is a Midrash Sifra. So basically for Rabbi Akiva, this verse is a big deal. Why? Because it has the potential to solve so many problems in society.
Yeah.
That sometimes it could go even beyond giving tzedakah. Right? Which with giving tzedakah, you may solve one problem today, and then you may have the same problem tomorrow. But this attitude that is to avoid vengeance and grudges, and instead of that, having a loving interaction with your neighbors has the potential to fix broken relationships.
Right.
So Rabbi Akiva said, come on guys, this is a big deal. That's why it became so important. And it's interesting that if you will ask a Christian who said love your neighbor as yourself, they will say Jesus, and they didn't realize that this was written hundreds of years before. What Rabbi Akiva said, and in the Torah, Leviticus, 1,000 years before. Okay? So it's one of the biggest confusions in theology. Some people believe, oh, these are the word of Jesus. No. Leviticus 19:18. Go read your Bible. Yes, because he was a rabbi. Very familiar with this. and also for him, for Jesus, it was a big deal. That was the teaching. It's a big deal. And he probably noticed that people didn't necessarily follow that commandment. And it was good to go around and reminding people. Can't blame him for doing that. Because it's something that we keep doing every generation, reminding people how important this is. To try to, because if you insist on taking revenge or bearing a grudge, what you are creating is you are perpetuating this cycle of toxicity. Yeah. David Grossman says, "We miss your concerts." Yeah. You know what, David? I have an idea. Maybe next time I go to the Simpkins Center or something, I should stream from there.
Yeah.
But the problem is the sound. It's I don't know.
Could you record it and play it?
Otherwise, I will have to go live from the basement. Maybe I will do it soon. Or maybe outside now that it's getting nicer. And that I have better equipment that I used to have before. So we'll see. We'll see. Thank you for the reminder, David. Okay, so let's continue here. Talking about this. Okay. This verse, love your neighbor as yourself, right, also became famous because of the story. Remember the convert who came to Hillel and Shammai, and I said, "Can you teach me the Torah while it's on one foot?" Listen to this. Listen to this. This is from the Talmud. Sometimes people don't know where it's coming from. From the Talmud Masechet Shabbat. It says, there is a story about a Gentile who came before Shammai and said to him, "I will convert if you teach me the entire Torah while I stand on one foot." Shammai pushed him away with a measuring stick that was in his hand.
Yeah.
I will say here what is called Cantor Brownson style. Okay? The Gentile then went to Hillel, who helped him convert. Hillel told him, "Whatever is hateful to you, do not do to your friend. This is entire Torah. The rest is explanation. Go and study." The interpretation of this is that Hillel is paraphrasing Leviticus 19:18, so explaining it. So basically, say, "Can you explain the entire Torah while I stand on one foot?" The answer is yes. Leviticus 19:18. Okay. The way you should understand the verse is, whatever is hateful to you, do not do to your friend. It's that simple. That is the right interpretation of that verse, right? Because think about it. If you go ask for the lawnmower and the person said no, do you like the feeling? So don't do it next time he comes to ask something to you. Now you know how it feels, right? And many other things in life, we already know how it feels when we are jerks, or when somebody else is a jerk to us. So don't be to other. He said, and Hillel said, "It's that simple. It's that simple." Then he said, that is the Torah in a nutshell. Everything else is explanation in the sense that how to apply this core concept to everything. But there is a lot of study in order for you to understand it. So now that you understand the core value, go and study the rest. And it looks like the guy accepted it and converted. It's a very interesting thing. And by the way, the other thing that you will get from there, some people think that when somebody comes to convert to Judaism, you have to reject him 3 times.
Yeah.
You heard that?
Yeah.
So what happened here? Hillel never studied that rule? Well, you have to understand that back in the day, conversion to Judaism was very different. And I don't think we have time, but I have it as part of the class to try to understand how it used to work in biblical times. Okay? So let's move a little faster here. Now, there is another explanation that is trying to present the Gentile that came to the rabbis in a better light. Because the way it's presented in the Talmud, it looks like the guy himself a jerk, that's trying to make fun of the rabbis, right? But listen to this. This other rabbi, Rabbi Shlomo Ephraim ben Aaron Lunchitz, says as follows. It seems that the Gentile was a righteous convert and was not acting in a sarcastic manner, jokingly suggesting that he be taught the entire Torah while literally standing on one foot. Okay? Rather, he must have requested a method by which he could base all of the Torah's commandments upon one unifying principle. 1 foot. Literally 1 foot, but it's a metaphor, the 1 foot. In order to avoid the lack of clarity that converts customarily experience, since they do not learn about mitzvot from their youth. Therefore, Hillel gave him a brief form of this all-encompassing principle, with which he will be able to remember all of the mitzvot. Okay? And this is interesting because when I teach my conversion classes, every class we start, or I present to the class, an ethical dilemma in order to see how Torah could be applied to daily life. So having this understanding of this golden rule is very important because it helps you apply Torah to your daily life. It's almost like if you feel that by observing Torah you're becoming a bad person to others, there has to be something wrong in the interpretation because it doesn't fit the love your neighbor. That's the thing. Let's continue with the next thing that I want to talk to you today. That I mentioned about the convert, right? This week's parsha is talking specifically about converts. Even though the Torah never talks about converts, but listen to this. Leviticus 19, 33 and 34 says, when a proselyte dwells among you in your land, do not taunt him. Do not taunt him. The proselyte who dwells with you shall be like a native among you, and you shall love him like yourself. You see the connection?
Yeah.
Because again, you can understand, well, love your neighbor as yourself is just other Jews, right? But here says specifically, no, also to the converts, right? And I know some people may argue, yeah, because sometimes people forget that a convert is a Jew, right?
Yeah.
But you get the point. But you understand that. I always tell, when people convert to Judaism through us, when we have the Beit Din at the end,
Right.
I look at the candidate in the eye, and I said, you realize that after you go to the mikvah, you won't be a convert. You will be a Jew. And don't you ever let anyone tell you, you're a convert.
Yeah.
No, there is no such a thing. You're a Jew. You're either a Jew or you're not, right?
Yeah.
And if you're a Jew, yes, you could be a Jew by choice, a Jew by birth, right? But halachically, there is no difference. A Jew is a Jew. So I said, don't let people call you a convert, even if they mean well. You have to educate them. Yeah. So let me read it back. So the proselyte who dwells with you shall be like a native among you, and you shall love him like yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am Hashem your God. So you know how it feels when you were in another place and they mistreated you, right? So these are people that they're trying to live with you. They like your religion. They are learning to love your God. Be nice to them. But you see, this verse encapsulates the concept of conversion back then. How do you convert to Judaism back in biblical times?
You just adopted the traditions and followed the same rules
Yeah,
as the people who were there.
yeah, that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Just, you have to, observe Judaism, because remember, that was the law of the land,
Yeah.
right? And you could actually offer sacrifices in the temple if you had to. There were a few exceptions that if you were uncircumcised, for example, you couldn't do certain things. Like if the Torah says uncircumcised people could not eat the Korban Pesach, the Pesach sacrifice. But there were just a few exceptions that non-Jews couldn't do. All the others, Judaism was very universalist in the land of Israel. You could actually participate in almost all the rituals as a non-Jew. So it's fascinating, right? And in these days, I guess we got too complicated. When you will see people coming to synagogue, putting on the talit, and will be somebody, well, are you a Jew? It's almost like, what, is disrespecting the shmate because he's putting it on? But things change a lot. There are historians that try to understand that, and they kind of agree that the big changes came after the expulsion, after the destruction of the first temple, where what's the word? Were assimilating into the Israeli society, let's put it that way, was not possible anymore because there was no Israel. They were in Babylonia now, and there were other religions there. So then, if you wanted to become a Jew, then you have to understand the Jewish religion, and then you have to pledge allegiance to the Jewish religion. It's different. Everything changed, and they have to figure things out as they went. But please don't tell me. And I've seen the rabbis in these days, especially in Israel, right? When they said, well, we want to do the conversions the way it's mentioned in the Torah. Where? Show me where. Anyway, don't make me start. Let's continue. So, in the biblical era, the notion of a full religious conversion as we know it today did not exist. Joining the Israelite population meant following a specific set of communal practices without necessarily adopting Israelite ritual laws yet. Okay? So there were different levels. Central to this process was a commitment to monotheism, the factor which most set pagans apart from Hebrews. Okay? Those Gentiles who were members of Israelite society were known as Geirim. Geirim, which means strangers or foreigners. And the Bible repeatedly emphasizes the obligation to welcome such people. Okay? Because back then, we did want people to join us. We did want people to worship the one God. In these days, it's like we don't.
No, we make it harder.
We don't go door to door.
No.
Right?
We make it harder for them to become Jew.
Yeah. We should go with the white shirt and the black tie offering the Tanakh. Right? Anyway, let's continue. So, the earliest form of conversion was assimilation.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Not much different of what is happening in these days, the opposite. Right? It's assimilation to American culture, right? Or Canadian culture, or whatever. It's happening. But back in those days was the other way. People will come to Israel and they will assimilate to the Israeli culture, society, / religion, because religion was the law. So that's the difference. So while there was no conversions, many non-Israelites joined the Israelite community, often through marriage. That was a big thing, marriage, especially for women. Oh, we have a parade here. Oh God.
That's the future going on.
Yes, I guess. Okay, happy to report that none of these noisy kids were my son. So let's read it again. Well, there was no conversion. Many non-Israelites joined the Israelite community, often through marriage, especially women, or acceptance of the belief and practices of the community. In this sense, assimilation is the earliest form of conversion. Abraham and his descendants absorbed many pagans and servants into their group, greatly increasing the size of the Israeli people. Okay? Next, it says, after their journey into Egypt, okay, their exodus with the mixed multitude, remember that?
Yes.
Erev Rav?
Yeah.
It says there, when they left Egypt, they have the Erev Rav, mixed multitude.
Yeah.
What is that? Well, non-Israelites who joined the nation as it left Egypt. And they were eating the same manna,
Right.
sacrificing on the same tabernacle, because remember, no other way of worshiping was allowed. Otherwise, it would be okay for them to have the golden calf, but God didn't want it with anybody. Okay? And then they received the Torah together with all the others. And then continue with them all the way until they entered to the promised land. There was a difference though. There was a difference that the Erev Rav did not inherit land.
Right.
So they were not allowed to own land at the beginning. That was reserved for the tribes. So I don't know how they dealt with that.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing it.
Because Erev Rav, if you were a female, no problem. You marry somebody from a tribe and then you belong to that tribe.
Yeah.
But for men it was different, and honestly I couldn't find how they dealt with that. Okay? So once again, they increased their numbers from among non-Israelite people, both those who live in Canaan, such as she said the other thing is even when they entered to the land, they went into different wars. But some people, they just assimilated to the Jewish people. Even the remnant, right, or the people who did it even before they went into war, right? Remember, the Torah mentions the Hittites, right? The Hivites, Girgashites, Amorites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Cellulites. No, it doesn't say that.
Nice try.
And so some of them, they became Jewish eventually. But again, the big issue here is what happened with the owning of land. It's not clear to me how they dealt with that part. Again, females, no problem with the males. Unless that they were allowed to own land until the Jubilee, right? And then they have to return it to the rightful owners. But I don't think that ever happened. Hello.
Online? Teaching online?
Online, yes.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later. I got a question for you.
Okay. So, after the destruction of the temple, 1886 BCE, and the subsequent exile, it was no longer possible to define Jewishness based on affiliation with the Jewish nation living in the land of Israel. Living amongst the Gentiles, bereft of territorial boundaries, Jews were forced to establish religious boundaries that will clearly distinguish them from their neighbors. Okay? A non-Jew would no longer become Jewish merely by assimilating into the Jewish community, which by then was dispersing rapidly Instead, a non-Jew will have to undergo a formal religious conversion procedure in which his desire to become Jewish will be stated clearly and unequivocally. Only after successfully undergoing this procedure will he become a ger. So now what they did, the rabbis, is they borrowed this word from the Torah. There was the ger, and they transformed it into a ger tzedek. So, what is the Hebrew word for convert in this day and age? Ger tzedek. Okay? So again, trivia question. What is the Hebrew word for convert? Ger tzedek. Some people will say ger. That's wrong. It's ger tzedek. Righteous foreigner. Okay, ger tzedek.
There also means nation.
Yeah, but in the context is the stranger. So, but they added the word tzedek, the rabbi, and that became part of Hebrew language. Okay. Now, and then again, they have to create a ceremony or the process, how to do it, right? It cannot be done just on one foot anymore. So, the Talmud describes how to do it. It said, a rabbi taught a person who wishes to convert at this time. What does it mean at this time? Yeah, but at this time also means today, because very little change. You'll see. Is told or is asked, why do you want to convert? Somebody in a category, why do you want to be a Jew? Are you crazy? Don't laugh. That is the next question. He said, don't you know that the people of Israel at this time are afflicted, pushed about, swept from place to place, and tossed about, and that tribulation comes upon them? We are not talking about 2024, but we could, right? We can use this formula even today.
Sure.
And then, if the candidate answers, I know, and I'm not worthy to be one of them, right? Then we immediately accept him. Okay?
Yeah.
Immediately. Not pushing him around 3 times or anything like that. We inform him of the punishment for not observing gleanings, forgotten sheaves, corners of the field, and tithe for the poor. It means, well, let me tell you another reason why maybe you shouldn't become a Jew. Because from this time on, you're going to be financially responsible for your brothers and sisters. Are you willing to do that? Right now, you can do with your money whatever you want. From the time that you convert, then you are legally obligated to support your brothers and sisters in need. Legally obligated. Let's continue. Okay? And we further tell him the punishment for violating the mitzvot. We say to him, be aware that up until now, you could eat forbidden animal fat without being liable for penalty of karet, excision. You could profane Shabbat without incurring in punishment of stoning. But from now on, if you eat forbidden fat, I mean, if you have your pork chops and stuff like that, you are liable for excision. If you profane the Shabbat, you're liable for stoning. Do you still want to convert?
Yeah.
Right? That's the question. Do you still want to do it? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Stoning is pretty final. Now, the Talmud says, just as we tell him the punishment for not observance of the mitzvot, so too we describe the reward. Those are the bad news. Let me tell you the good news. Right? The good news is, by fulfilling the mitzvot, right? You're perfecting yourself. You're becoming a better person. You're establishing a relationship with your God in a special way. You're becoming holy, right? And so it's a very interesting thing. Oh. And then the Talmud wraps it up by saying, we are neither too lengthy with the description nor too detailed. Pretty much what we do. They study for a year. How much can you learn in a year?
Well, the basics.
The basics. But what we are doing is based on the Talmud, right? So can you see how this barely changed from the Talmudic times, right? So not too lengthy with the description, not too detailed. If he accepts, then he is immediately circumcised. When he heals, we immerse him immediately with 2 scholars, stand by him and inform him of some of the lighter, some of the weighter mitzvot. So there is a reminder during the mikvah process. When he completed the immersion, he is considered as a Jew in all respects. Why? Because the problem that they had before about the land is not a problem anymore. So right now what they're saying is there is no difference. There is no difference with other Jews right now. It was before regarding ownership of land. Right now, not an issue. And listen to this. With reference to a woman, other women position her in the water up to her neck, while 2 scholars stand by from outside the room.
Right.
So they can hear, but they cannot see.
Yeah.
And inform her of some of the lighter, some of the weighter mitzvot. That's it. And as I said, very little has changed since those days. Very, very little. That's the way we do it. But I thought it was interesting that the concept of the ger is mentioned in this with Parsha. And there is nothing about conversion, not even the mikveh. Mikveh is not mentioned in the Torah. You know that? There is no mikveh in the Torah. How the mikveh became a thing, we don't know. Shocking. It does mention about circumcision, but not about the mikveh. Okay, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. And remember to keep counting the Omer. We are on day 16 today. Okay, so you already know what you have to count tonight. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. Remember, this class is going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. Okay? Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. And hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.